Welcome to the Sacred Emergence Podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Wong, and I'm so thrilled that you're here. This is a place where you'll be guided to living your most aligned life so that your truest, most radiant self can emerge. We'll be jamming on topics ranging from spirituality, entrepreneurship, to wellness and lifestyle design, and everything in between that can support you to grow, evolve, and shine, all the while not taking ourselves too seriously. So if you're ready to step into your leadership, break through limiting beliefs, own all of who you are, and expand in abundance, grab yourself your faith cup of tea and let's dive in. Hello. Welcome back to another episode of Sacred Emergence. It's Michelle Wong here, and I have a solo episode for you today. And I wanted to spend some time talking about what I've been working on over the past few weeks, months, and as we're closing in towards the end of 2020, I've been reflecting back more on this year, and I wanted to share kind of my perspective on just my own personal life and also what I've been doing in terms of inner leadership. And hopefully this will help empower you and motivate you to look at the areas in your life where this could be helpful. And so, when I look at 2020, it's crazy that we're already towards the end of 2020. We have less than 2 months to go at the time of this recording. And I look back at my 2020 and I see it as two halves. And I'm going to be completely transparent. The first half of 2020, despite COVID and all the things, it was pretty magical. I was in a relationship, my knee was getting a lot better, and just like things are going on this uphill. And then there was the breakup. And after the breakup, there was like healing work. And so much came around that time in May where I, 2 months prior to that, I jumped into working with one of my business mentors. And then I signed up with my direct business coach / mentor towards the end of May. And, there was a potential opportunity with a corporate job that was 100% remote that I thought, well, maybe it might work out. And so a lot of things were starting to really shift in May. So things are ready to be released. And at the same time, there's a lot of inner work that was required. And I sense like for me in 2020, there were two halves. The first half was this is a setup work for what's going to happen for the next half of 2020. And I have to say that this has been a very profound year for me of massive shifts, lots of growth, and a lot of inner work. And I don't think if the breakup didn't happen, the inner work wouldn't have been as strong. And I really wanted to talk about our emotions and our emotional mastery, because a lot of times things happen in our life to really activate us so that we could do something about it. And I have to give credit to my mentor, Jonna Kingsford, who actually she uses the word activate instead of trigger, because when something activates us, it's almost like something gets turned on inside of us. Like I see it as like I don't know, my cells get turned on like a light switch, and then I get to choose to do something about it. And so it has allowed me with what's activating me to, peel back the layers and take a deeper look. And so one of the things is personal responsibility and emotional mastery. And looking at just how I operate and how I am in the world. And I think this is true for all of us. When I look at my day-to-day, my actions, I don't actually see myself from a third-party perspective, right? Like we can't really see ourselves in that way. And, in human design, I work with human design, there's the unconscious and then there's the conscious, right? And this is even outside of human design. Like we have our conscious self and then our unconscious self, and we cannot see our unconscious self, right? But other people have the potential to see that if they're, watching us or close with us. They can probably see parts of ourselves that we can't see. And usually it's both the strengths that we don't see about ourselves and also the weaknesses. And it's been this past relationship ending that it was actually a really great opportunity for me to look at where in my life do I like am where in my life am I not leading myself? And my work is really around inner leadership, courage, confidence, growth. And the leadership piece is really, really important. And this is where the personal responsibility comes in. And I also work with my mentor, Melanie Ann Layer, in her Alpha Femme experience. So I'm in one of her 1-year containers, and she talks a lot about, you lead, the energy, the universe follows, right? So you lead first. You got to lead yourself first. And this also comes with who we are in the world, right? How we want things to happen in our life is directly related to our actions and how we show up. And so Melanie talks a lot about emotional mastery. And when she started talking about emotional mastery and looking at my past relationships and my past patterns, I was like, oh my goodness, like this is one of the areas that I actually need to strengthen. And so what I've been working on over these past few months is strengthening emotional mastery. And I honestly feel like this is something that everybody needs to work on, emotional mastery, right? Because if we're not careful, a lot of things can trigger us. And I'll say the word trigger, like it's like, like something just, really irritated me. And then we can look outside of ourselves and blame the other person, or this is that person's fault. They said this, they did that. And a lot of times these are actually mirrors in our life, and things that we can actually be better at. And I do prefer to use the word activated, because when I look at all the ways now, like it's almost like I look at my life and my emotions like a magnifying glass. I'm like, okay, this person said something to me in this moment, and it has activated me. Like I'm a little bit irritated by this person. And in the past, depending on that person and the relationship I have with them, I would either just fire back, kind of like, how dare you say that to me? Or I will kind of shut down my emotion and be hurt by it and trying to stuff it down away, like pretend that, okay, that did bother me, and just try to like logically process it and think that's okay. Like maybe she was having a bad day and she didn't mean to say that. And then try to like move on from it. And what I am learning, and just through my inner work and doing all the different layers of peeling back, okay, like how do I clear the things that's actually getting in the way of blocking me, right? Because like these are all signs. Like when the little things give you the little like niggle, it's something to look at. And so that's what I've been doing in my past few weeks and months, of being very intentional of my activators. And it has been really, really powerful, because in that process, I've had a lot of breakthroughs. This is around money. This is around relationship with my mom. This is looking at how I was in my past relationships, in my romantic relationships, even relationships with my friends, like all the different areas of, okay, like if something really bothers me, it's actually a really great opportunity for me to look at deeper of like, why is this happening? Why am I getting activated? And now I have tools to work with it. And one of the two things that I've been, or actually three, I talked about breath work. Breath work is so powerful because it really bypasses the brain and logic and goes straight into the body, letting the oxygen get into the crevices of your body, into the, the cells, and just help it scoop up. And even after a really powerful breathwork session, you don't have to know exactly what happened, but I know for me, I feel a lot cleaner and clearer. Another tool I use is my coach, Jana. She has her own system called Belief Ethics. And I've interviewed Jana in my past episodes, so I'll share it in the link. But I think we talked about belief ethics. Basically, belief ethics is her system of really like pulling out the subconscious and the wiring in our subconscious that we might not be aware of, and bring it into the conscious. So that's been really helpful in looking at my own personal money beliefs and my money patterns, and Also, whenever I get activated by something, I go into belief etic work. And then lastly, the one that I've been using, and now I'm getting a certification process through it, is it's actually interesting because I've used emotional freedom technique, EFT, through a lot of different things. And I've interviewed Lisa Rigsby, who I first really used EFT in one of her programs that she taught. And I also interviewed Lisa Rigsby on the podcast, so I'm happy to share the episode with her on the show notes. But I took one of her programs called Soulmate School years ago, and I knew of EFT back then, but the way that she integrated into her program, it felt very helpful. And since then, I've been using it, in the way that I'll start tapping. EFT is like you tap through the specific meridian points, and it helps to heal the emotions. And it's been helpful. And then recently I discovered a different method called the rapid manifestation method. And this is it uses tapping in a very different way, and it kind of shortcuts the process. And I've been using it lately, and it's been so powerful that I decided to get certified in it. So more to come on that. But like with using these tools, and especially combining all of these together, but especially right now for me when I'm using the rapid manifestation method, the RMM, it's been like I'm walking along the street and I'll start tapping, It has been so amazing how much things I'm clearing up. And a lot of it, the things that I'm clearing up are like the emotions that get stuck, right? And as I'm tapping, like the emotions from childhood that I didn't even know were still there. And like suddenly I'm tapping and I start crying. And it's like it feels like such a little thing, but tears are coming out. And like I know that things are being released in the process. And it could be like situations that come up from childhood, or like I get memories of when I was a child, and like the things that get buried within us that we bring into our adult life, and then we unconsciously let the child lead us. And this is where really the emotional mastery and doing the inner work comes in. And I share this because 2020 has been such a pivotal year, I think, for everybody, right? Not just for me. And I believe it is such a great opportunity to look at our fears, our activators, and looking at like, this is such a great opportunity to rise, right? And before we can look at other people, before we can look at the external and point fingers, it's a great opportunity to look at where in our own lives are we not conscious of our own habits and patterns that are actually getting in the way of our own dreams, of our own desires, and starting to look deeper within ourselves first. Because I really believe that with our relationship to ourselves is the most important, and it's so subconscious, right? Like sometimes we don't even know the thoughts that we have about ourselves, but we project it onto other people. And I'll just say, like for me, my relationship with my mom sometimes is very like it's not smooth, right? Sometimes I just have like the mother-daughter relationship. It's sometimes for me, it's like I get so activated by my mom, so activated that it's very hard for me to carry a conversation with her. And it's like the 13-year-old me just comes out, and the moments when I wasn't heard and all the things that just was never really healed or processed. And the more I do this inner work, the more I realize like, oh my goodness, like I can see my mom in a different light. And when I talk to her on the phone now, it's like something has shifted. And I'm not going to say it's perfect, but it's shifted me in the way that I show up, that I can hold myself in a different, more mature way as an adult. And so emotional mastery is so important, and especially for us who are empaths and we feel other people's feelings, it's really easy to let all of this condition who we are, and our emotions really, really guide us if we're not aware of it. And I wanted to talk about really looking at how can we lead ourselves better through our emotions, through emotional mastery? How can we take personal responsibility of where we're going in our lives and what for the results that happen in our lives? And a big part of it is looking almost like aggressively at, what are the things that do irritate me, and be willing to have that courage to, okay, this is going to be uncomfortable. I'm going to set aside some time and really look at why did, that person say that thing? Why did that bother me? And then not try to logicize it. I say logicize, it's not a real word. It should be. Like, not try to like go through all the analytical, logical reasons of, okay, this is why, this is why, this is why, but really dig deep, pull up the emotions and heal it. And so those are the areas that, for me, that's what I've been doing, looking at like understanding myself more. And human design has been so powerful because I understand that, my emotional energy center is undefined. So I absorb other people's emotions. I'm pretty sensitive. And so it requires me to be almost like relentless in looking at what are the things that have annoyed me and that I've taken personally because I've been sensitive. I'm an empath. And sometimes I can be highly sensitive. And how do I create more resiliency around it? Because I can't just say, oh, I'm so annoyed by this person and it's hard for me to take on this person's feelings because I'm an empath and therefore I'm doomed, right? Therefore I'm like a victim to other people's emotions. Like, that is not empowering at all. I think what is more empowering is, knowing that it's almost like a superpower where I feel things deeply, and I have this personal power and resiliency within me that I am responsible for what happens with my emotions, and I can handle it, and I can hold space for what's happening and not point fingers at the other person. But if I'm pissed off at someone, I'm going to have that mature adult response where I'm going to walk away, step away, and process this on my own so I can come back and be level-headed so I could talk to that person, right? Rather than coming through like an emotional spiral. Because when we're in an emotional spiral, our emotions are so high that it's hard to be rational and talk in a clear-headed way. And understanding the other person, putting ourselves in the other person's shoe, gives us way more clarity when we've done the inner work, the processing, and having that willingness to do it. So that's what I've been doing over the past few weeks, past few months, and it's been really eye-opening for all the breakthroughs that's coming through. And when we have the capacity to do the clearing, the breakthroughs, things just start to become, I would say, easier, more clear, that the things that might bother me previously doesn't bother me anymore. And it gives me more space to focus on the things that I desire. I take things less personally in my business. I have more energy in my business because I'm not weighed down by, the internal emotional tornado that can happen if someone says something that like really pisses me off, but I don't know how to handle it. And so I wanted to share that because I feel like 2020 has been, I believe, an emotional year for a lot of people. And I can list out all the big events that have happened this year, but we've all been affected by it. And we can use this year as a year of growth, of lessons, or we could point fingers and say, I can't wait for this year to be over, which is silly because in January 1st, 2021, it's time is made up, right? And so it's not any different. It's like we created, like time is something we've created. And so you get to say it's different, but you can say that now, right? You don't have to wait for January 1st, and you can take advantage of all the things that are happening this year and do the inner work. And so I wanted to share that because this has been something that I've been working on my own, but not on my own, but behind the scenes, and strengthening my own emotions. And what that allows is if I'm having a conversation with somebody who has a different perspective, I can hold myself, I can hold my ground and have space to hear the other side and not feel like I am going to be in defensive mode. And I feel like it is so important this year. And to have the resiliency to be able to take care of my own well-being while being able to hold a conversation. And if the other person is, activated or emotional, I am strong enough to not necessarily jump down that bandwagon. I can hold my power and be calm because I've done the work. And I could see it's also a reflection of, in the past, I would have been annoyed and maybe gotten in a hot, steamy conversation or a very heated conversation, I should say, and not steamy, heated. And now it's like I have a bigger perspective. And it doesn't mean I'm better than you and not like that, but having the ability to see, okay, I've done the work and I have empathy for the other person, and I still have my personal powers so that I'm not going to go down this path of arguing. And it could be so many different topics this year. And so I wanted to share that. And if you want to learn more about the rapid manifestation method that I talked about with the tapping, feel free to DM me over Instagram at michellewong.xo. And if this resonated with you, this episode resonated with you, I would love for you to share it. You can always do a little screen capture or however you want to share it, Insta stories, Facebook stories, whatever is best, and tag me so I can see it and send it some love and reshare it. So thank you so much. Have an amazing day, morning, night, wherever you're at, and I'll see you soon. Cheers. Join our free private Facebook group community, Sacred Emergence, to receive more connection, guidance, and support, and take part in our 5-day Inner Confidence Challenge to not only boost your confidence, but to help activate your inner leadership. Details in the show notes. Thank you for listening to the Sacred Emergence podcast. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss an episode, and thank you in advance for sharing this with others who can benefit. Until next time.